Mombassa and its beaches form the heart of Kenya's tourist industry. Most people who live here are Muslim, descendants of Arab traders who've used this port for centuries. The city's police have taken to sweeping through poor neighborhoods and imprisoning anyone. They're looking for firearms, illegal immigrants, and above all, terrorists. A lot of people have been rounded up in town this morning, and right in front of me there's a crowd waiting in front of the police station looking for their arrested relatives. The police tactics are causing a public outcry.
This police system is very bad. They are very harassment people. They are doing us bad.
They're in that window. But Kenya's new government, elected last December, is facing a crisis. Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Come, madam. Come.
Okay.
Come, madam.
So they're being released now?
Yeah, the ladies which are released. You see, they're very poor. See, they're very poor. They don't have money.
Can you help me talk to them?
Yes.
Let's just find out.
Excuse me, madam.
People were complaining they had to pay bribes for the police to release their relatives. Mara kwanza. Mara ya pili. So this lady is saying this wasn't even the first time that they took her in and made her stay in jail. It's been the second time. She was just saying that it's easy to snatch somebody like her. She's got no work, she's got no rights. One of the children who was taken into jail, he's 4.5 years old. The little one is 2 years old.
See? And the cells.
Miatano.
See, madam.
Really? I just wanted to know how many people they actually took this morning. And this lady saying the whole prison was full. It was incredibly crowded. She says 500.
500 and 5 cells. 5 cells.
A few minutes later, my colleague and I were hauled into the police station. We've just spent a whole hour in the police station. We were filming outside with the crowd. Suddenly they came and grabbed the director, cameraman, grabbed him at his neck, pulled him into the police station. Everybody started shouting at us. Somebody had a big stick and they were saying, "What are you doing here?" And it was a sort of half arrest. Mombassa's 500,000 inhabitants have a reputation not just for religious tolerance, but for being cosmopolitan. Muslims send their children across the Arabian Sea to be educated in the Middle East. Arabs marry into families here. Al-Qaeda has exploited these ties to plant terrorists in the coastal community. We're just coming up to the Paradise, which is the Israeli hotel where the bomb went off last November. The hotel watchman refused to let me in, but he told me what happened.
The cars coming with the lights in high speed, more than 120 or 160.
Is that why the gate is so dented just there?
We're African, we don't know, because it's our first time in Kenya to see something like that. So we're wondering what is going on. We want to know.
The blast killed 3 Israeli tourists and 11 Kenyan musicians and dancers who worked at the hotel. Scores of people were injured. What effect has this bomb had on tourism?
British Airways stopped, American Airways stopped, so that is the problem. So many people suffering. Because if you're working in the hotel and you don't have a job, so what you will survive?
Maisha ngumu?
Yeah, it's very hard life. But what shall we do?
Nearby was Musumarini, a village that had once supplied many of the workers for the Paradise Hotel. Since the attack, most of its men have left, looking for work to feed their families. Ali Baba is just saying that at the point of time that the bomb went off, the workers at the Paradise were actually owed 3 months' salary money, and that is money that they never received. I was introduced to Katsumasha. The bomb killed her daughter, Pendo. her daughter actually worked in the Paradise Hotel as a dancer together with the drumming group that was welcoming the tourists as they arrived, and she was the sole breadwinner for the family. So this is where her daughter is buried. It's all overgrown now. She was a casualty of a war she knew nothing about. Nani unafikiri nani ameweka bomb?
Basi hayo amekuwa huko sijui.
I just wanted to know who she thinks put the bomb in the Paradise Hotel, and she says she's got absolutely no idea. Whole communities had depended on the Paradise Hotel. Ali was just saying that a lot of these houses around us are empty because the people who used to live here used to work in the tourist trade, and they've gone away to different places because they lost their jobs and couldn't find any new ones when the hotels closed down. Dana Yar lost her husband Safari in the bomb blast. She was saying that tourism was such a good thing. Her husband was playing in the performing band in the Paradise Hotel, and they had enough to eat for all the kids. But now that the bomb has gone off and no tourists are coming back, what is there for them to do? She said her situation seems hopeless because she already had 9 children when her husband died, and she was pregnant with a 10th kid, and the 10th kid is now born, and she's looking after all of them but has very little to feed them with. The effect of the bomb at the Paradise Hotel goes far beyond the personal tragedies and poverty it's caused in the nearby villages. We left Mombassa, taking the ferry across the Likoni River. Along the south coast are resort hotels that depend on charter flights from Britain and other European countries.
It's your first time? Oh, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
In May, America banned all its flights to Kenya. The British did the same. They felt the Kenyans weren't doing enough to protect tourists, and they feared further attacks. After Bali, they weren't taking any chances. For the 500,000 workers who depend on tourism, the results have been catastrophic. Not exactly busy. We took a stroll along the beach. The only people we met were some out-of-work acrobats. Now, all these jobs that you never think about when you think of the tourist industry. What do people do to survive if they can't work in the tourist industry? What other work is there?
Yeah, normal the jobless people, yeah. If there's no tourists, so we close down our acrobatic show and just hanging to the village. Aya, hakuna matata jambo.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye. According to the Kenyan Foreign Minister, the British and American flight bans handed victory to the terrorists on a plate. Sylvia and Harold Kamper are a German couple who've spent most of their lives in Kenya. They own 2 large hotels further along the beach.
It's a permanent process to maintain things.
But it does feel like a ghost hotel at the moment.
Yeah, it's really like a ghost hotel.
After the flight ban, they were forced to close this hotel entirely.
We would be very busy right now here, but as you can see, there is simply nobody.
Stored the furniture here at the time being.
So can you remember what immediately happened when the travel ban was issued? How did you notice that, being a hotel manager? What happened?
The morning afterwards, when I retrieved my email, I saw about 15 emails popping up And when I opened them, I found in all of them, please cancel, please cancel, please cancel. And like this, it went on with every day about 15 cancellations for the next 2 weeks. The only guest.
Your only guest, yeah. The Campers have kept their other hotel open to cater to German and Swiss tourists. But they've had to sack over 100 staff and they're struggling to pay those who remain.
I think this threat is mainly taking place in the heads of the people. It's not really physically there. There is no difference in the threat between Kenya, for example, and the threat of terrorism in the UK, or in the United States, or in Germany. The threat is overall there, but it's not that there is a bigger threat here in Kenya.
Behind the hotels is the township of Ukunda. The Campers had told us we'd find some of their unemployed workers at Sunday worship. Along the coast, at least 15% of hotel workers have been laid off. Almost all employees have had their salaries delayed for 3 months. We met one of them. This is your place?
Yeah, this is where I am.
Okay.
So this is the stop.
Jacob was a hotel security guard. Now he's selling charcoal to feed a family of 9. But no one has the cash to pay him.
I have to write them down, the debtors. So somebody can pay you like this one. You see this one? He paid 60 and again he came to took others, it was 40. And now he's having the balance of 20 shillings. I want my kids to eat. I have to persevere. However difficult it is, however hard it is, I have to be here.
Jacob took me to meet his customers. This is the market?
Yeah, this is the market. People can sit the whole day. There is nothing. We go this side.
They're not selling anything just now?
Yeah, everybody's affected.
This cafe is closed down completely?
It's closed. Now I'm in Cynthia. Are you ready to bring...
Jacob had hoped to sell a bag of charcoal to one of the cafes.
He's not having no money, so I can't bring.
So you need charcoal, okay?
Because of the business.
He does need charcoal, he's saying, but he can't pay for it at the moment because the business in his cafe isn't very good.
You can see people are just sitting, they are not eating.
As we left, we passed the hip-hop group, warning against the dangers of AIDS. The German charity funding the concert is concerned that economic collapse has led to an increase in prostitution. A mile up the road, a new conference centre and golf course had just opened. To mark the occasion, its owners were holding a golf tournament for the local movers and shakers in the tourist industry. Among them was Raymond Matiba, the chairman of the Kenya Tourism Board. He's adamant that the Al-Qaeda bombs in Mombassa and Bali have changed the travel industry forever.
The world of tourism as we knew it has completely changed. We will always have to be vigilant. There will always have to be extra security at tourist sites because they are vulnerable. And that's exactly the sort of place people who want to create terror will gravitate to and carry out those atrocities. So I think we have the whole tourism system is going to have to change. It's going to be completely new.
And not just in Kenya, internationally.
Internationally.
Suddenly, news broke that further along the coast, 4 hotels were on fire. We wondered whether terrorists had struck again.
You can really start smelling the smoke.
At first, they wouldn't let us into the complex. Then they relented. It was spectacular, but it wasn't terrorism. The newspaper speculated that the blaze had been started by hotel workers who'd lost their jobs. Police checkpoints lined the road back to Mombassa. Everyone knows Kenya can't afford another bomb. In the city, Muslim leaders had organized a protest against police tactics in the war on terror. The Kenyan government is under pressure to show America and Britain it's doing everything it can to hunt down terrorists. These Muslims say they're paying the price in arbitrary arrests and police harassment. I've just been told that the prayer is about to start, so I'll have to wait in the women's section further down that way. After the prayers came the speeches. This speaker talked of a clash of civilizations between Islam and the West. We're called terrorists, so we can be targeted, he said. We must take a stand.
Ni kanuni iliyopitishwa Amerika ya US Patriotic Act.
As he spoke, a collection was taken to support the families of men arrested on suspicion of involvement in the Paradise Hotel bombing.
Ni mapacha wanaofanana sura na kimo na umbo kwa kila sura yake.
I've just met one of the organizers of this event, Sheikh Dor, and he said he's going to take me to the wives of some men, Muslim men, who they say have been unfairly arrested. Only one of the wives agreed to an interview. Husna was just saying that she's actually the wife of somebody who's been arrested by the government. She says they took him, there are no witnesses, there are no circumstances that anybody can understand that have led to this arrest. She says she's had a very hard time since there's been no money coming in. Her children aren't going to school because they can't afford the school fees. And she says this whole thing is a huge injustice against which she can't do anything. Then her cousin intervened. They're really blaming the Kenyan government for unfair treatment. They're saying the husbands were arrested on suspicions and then had to be released because that didn't stand up in front of court. And then immediately after the release, they were re-arrested and are now charged on charges of terrorism. And they've gone to Nairobi, tried to see them, but since they've been arrested for the second time, they've had no access to their husbands at all. They'd been angry at Al-Qaeda for sparking the situation, but it was now being eclipsed by outrage at the government's tactics.
You see, so we cried, we expressed our views, nothing happened. Yes. Those people came here, foreigners, they came to bomb Paradise and then they are blaming us. Why?
That's a question Muslims in Kenya ask all the time. They know that Al-Qaeda has done them great harm. But some also fear that pledging allegiance to the war on terror means a betrayal of their Muslim identity. I met one of the rally's backers. Abdullah Ahmed finds it hard to condemn Al-Qaeda, especially as he is critical of tourists and the values they bring.
Tourism may have suffered, but and it has affected, quite a large segment of the population. But at the same time, there's this same large segment of population, a similar large segment, was actually being harmed by tourism. So this is not my horn to deal with. That is the dilemma for the Kenyan government to try and tackle if they can. But they cannot improve security or make Muslim areas safe if what they're doing on a day-to-day basis is antagonizing us. They can't do it, and they need to realize that. They really need to realize that and find a way out of this mess that they put themselves into.
But are you offering the Kenyan government collaboration?
No. Collaboration for what? You're fighting Islam and Muslims. Why should Muslims collaborate with you in fighting Islam and Muslims? No, there shall be no collaboration. We ourselves, as Muslims, we talk to our Muslims and tell them, always control your actions with Islam and fall within the Islamic limits. We do it because it's our duty. But we're not going to sell out our Muslim brothers or be seen as collaborators in order to gain some type of short-term interest. No, this won't take place.
That's one voice. But many Muslims disagree. Each night, as tourists enter the old town in Mombassa, a group of Muslims meet beneath its walls. They are from Kisheso, a volunteer group drawn from all walks of life that polices the old town. They see tourism as vital to their community and fear the damage terrorism can do to it.
Some of our boys are not here with us. They happen to be undercover, and they will never come up and declare themselves as part of our group. So in case an incident took place, there will be somebody somewhere who will see something, and he can immediately come to the boss and report and say exactly who is the culprit.
That night, as we patrolled with Sheso, a man approached us. He said many Kenyan Muslims want to see the back of the terrorists, and he was one of them. He said he'd been involved in an incident that made headlines just a month before. He'd received a tip-off. It resulted in the police tracking down 2 Al-Qaeda suspects linked to the Paradise Hotel bombing. It should have been a big break for the police, but one of the men, who's on the FBI's most wanted list, escaped. The other blew up himself and the policeman with a hand grenade. The next day we met our informer again. He wanted us to know his motives.
There is no place in the Quran that mentions suicide bombing, or in any way blowing yourselves up and killing innocent people. These are fanatics. These are not Muslims. It's high time people should know Muslims are not involved. Neither is Islam involved. These are just fanatics using Islam as a scapegoat. We hope Al-Qaeda will not survive here.
Britain has now lifted its travel ban. America has not. Charter companies and tourists remain nervous. Kenya's beaches are still empty. Throughout the world, wherever tourists go, terrorists can